Hi, I'm Christine Sloan with Insider NJ, and today we're having a conversation with Hetty Rosenstein. Hetty is the State Director of the CWA, Communications Workers of America. She has just announced that she is retiring. Hetty, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
So why now?
Oh, this is a very good question. I'm not leaving the workers' rights movement or the movement for social justice. I did decide to leave my employment at CWA, and I think that there were a few reasons why. The pandemic was really informative to me. It really convinced me that if there are things that you want to do, you have to do them. You can't wait. You don't have unlimited time. So I think that was really the central issue for me, that there are still other things that I want to do. And so I think that was a good part of it.
So
And
you said you're not. You said you're not giving up your. You're still going to be involved. In what way?
yeah, well, I'm definitely going to try to help. I want to help the governor get reelected. I think he's been fantastic for New Jersey, and I want to make sure he gets reelected. And I am going to do what I can all up through the campaign to be as helpful as I can to the governor. I am interested in other political work, and I became very conscious that I couldn't always do it. For example, if I had not been with CWA, I would have taken off and gone to Georgia. I would do work with Reverend Barber. And I would like that kind of freedom to be able to do political work in that way. So I think that I will do that. I'm also very interested in healthcare, and I'd like to be able to concentrate on it and figure it out and work in the state and possibly elsewhere on issues about healthcare.
Any big announcements on anything that you are doing specifically?
No, right now, not yet. I mean, I know I'm going to work with the governor and the election. I know that much, but I don't have an announcement to make about it yet. But I know that I care a lot about this election. But no, I'm going to take a couple weeks off.
Anything, you just recently, during the pandemic, you negotiated a very important deal with the state for your union members. Tell us a little bit about that and why that was so crucial.
So, I mean, I think that one of the most important things to come out of the pandemic was the understanding that government matters, and that and it matters critically, and that it is the way to respond to crisis, and also that we are all in this together. You can't do this as an individual. It's not about, whether or not you have some, deep commitment or you are very ambitious. In fact, we are a collective society, and we have to resolve things collectively. And I think that that's at the heart of what that agreement was about, which was, even though there was enormous risk in terms of revenues and what would be available to keep the state running, we made a commitment that our workers none of them would be laid off through the pandemic. Sorry, and that none of them would be lose through the pandemic, and that we would make our own sacrifice. And that combination of workers saying, okay, we're going to defer a raise, but no one is going to be laid off, that critical combination was really important.
How important do you think the role of unions will be going forward, especially what we've all faced this past year, the joblessness, just the sheer pain?
I mean, this is the critical question for our age. Are we going to continue to have a society that benefits a tiny group of people or is good for everyone? And as we've lost collective bargaining, as we've lost union density, we have lost a sense of society as a whole and what benefits everyone. I think there'll be massive organizing during this time. I think we have the potential to do something like the 30s, where millions of people organize. And I think it's incredibly important that it happen. As an industrial nation, we are so behind the rest of the world in terms of collective bargaining rights, workers' rights, income inequality. It is the critical question for our age.
You know, we are a very divided country, and that division in most cases is with a group of people who believe that unions are, the unions don't belong in this country. And then there are a group of people who believe that they're crucial in just keeping jobs and keeping benefits. What do you want to say to the people who say, hey, I just want hands off. I don't want the government involved in my life. I don't want unions forcing me to join.
I actually think the overwhelming majority of people do not think that there's a very small group of people who think that, and those are people who actually benefit from it. Mm-hmm. They benefit from their workers being organized. People like Jeff Bezos. I would say it's time to share the wealth, and that the country itself is helped in every single way. When everyone does better, all boats rise. And so I'm less concerned about convincing a very small group of people who benefit from having people be divided, from having workers have no rights, from having a $7.25 minimum wage, than I am in opening up the eyes of the vast number of workers to say, your lives can be better. Your family can be better. Your circumstances can be better. Your community and your neighborhood all can benefit if we act together and if we care about each other and if we act with some unity. That is the message of the Amazon struggle, by the way, right now, where the entire community is coming forth and saying, yes, vote yes, have a union, and we'll build something for all of us.
What advice do you have to give to the woman who is replacing you?
Oh, Fran, Fran Arrett is an incredible person. She is a very, very close friend. And I guess I would just say one bite at a time. It's a very tough job. She is absolutely up for it. She's an incredible fighter. She's a brilliant woman. She is an astonishing leader. But I will say it is a very tough job. And so take it slow, take it one bite at a time, and you'll get through it. And she's going to do it her way. It will be different from what I did. You don't really know what kind of a leader you'll be till you get there. And you are different from the person who came before you. But she'll be great.
Now, she comes from a big union family, right? Her father was really involved in the union.
Her father was an amazing man, Frank Forrest. He was kind of the father of the public sector labor movement in New Jersey. So she comes from some really great stock. And, I do think that is, at the end, what happens. You realize, I realize at this point in my life, how much my early life, my parents, my family ended up, giving me the direction that it did. And I certainly think it did for her too.
Do you think it's more difficult to negotiate these huge deals? And I know I've covered a few of them over the years as a woman.
Oh, I don't know if I think that the issue of negotiating the large deal is more difficult if you're a woman. You don't negotiate these things as an individual. You come to the table with the power of your organization and with an entire committee that reflects the power of that organization. So I think that it's not so individual. I do think that
Maybe the
I do think that
question wasn't so well put. I think as a woman, we face many challenges in any sector, right? Do you
yeah, I think you
think?
have to convince. It's very difficult in the beginning to have people take you as seriously as they should, and you have to teach them that they have to. And I certainly have had the experience throughout my entire career of sitting next to a man and having someone speak to that man. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many, I can think of a particular leading legislator going into his office repeatedly. And if I was with the man, he would look at that man and speak to him. So certainly we have that experience, and then we have to teach people that they have to take us very, very seriously. And there is no question that that's another challenge that women have.
Well, talking about administrations over the years, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but have there been administrations that have been more difficult than others or easier than others?
Well, the Christie administration was just horrible. They were just horrible. He was so hostile to the workforce. He was so hostile to working people. It was a grotesque circumstances for workers, just insulting people, insulting teachers, insulting everyday workers. It was just revolting. And so that's the standalone. I mean, I've lived through 10 different governors. He's the standalone. Nobody else behaved in that reprehensible, just bullying, angry, hostile manner. So if you leave him aside, then you come to a bunch of others, and there were different governors were easier to work with and better to work with than others. There's no question Murphy is better to work with than anybody. He comes to the table with the idea that he respects the workforce and he wants to figure something out together. So that's always really important, and it shows. It just shows. But there were other governors that we had good or difficult relationships with and struggled with all along. They are the boss. And even Murphy, who I think has been a great governor, he's the boss. And that means sometimes you fight him.
Well, just first of all, Governor Christie, I haven't talked to him in a long time, and I do want to say that he has said over the years he was protecting New Jersey residents. But again, I understand what you were saying.
Maybe, but he left the state in the worst economic condition of any governor ever. He divided people. What he said doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, he was the least popular governor in history, with, I guess, a 19% approval rating, which I think is overrated. And he left the state in horrific economic condition. He gave massive taxes away to very wealthy people and to corporations. So what he says doesn't really matter. What he did is what matters.
Well, I guess Republicans like him say the pension system, the state pension, is draining the state. What is your response to that?
Well, the state pension system for civilian workers, let's make it clear that it's the lower paid workers who are mostly women and workers of color, and who have one of the lowest pensions, most moderate pensions in the entire country, for which they pay 85% of the benefit. So let's just keep it real. Has a massive debt because payments were not made. For 25 years, Republicans and Democrats alike did not make the pension payments from the employer side. If you were in the private sector and you had done that, you would go to prison. To prison. The state pension system is not a drain on the state. The debt that these irresponsible politicians engaged in, the debt that they caused by not making those pension payments, has had a horrible impact on the state. And of course, if you go back to 2010 and 2011 in Chapter 78, you will find CWA begging, do not make these partial payments. You must make the pension payment. If you would make the full pension payment, it will save billions of dollars. And of course, if they had made the full pension payments, the pension payment would be $5 billion less a year this year. $5 billion is all debt caused by people who did not make a payment, which in the private sector, they would go to jail for not doing.
Are these pensions secure for especially the young workers, union members?
Well, I think the pensions are secure if we continue to follow the lead of this governor and make the payments. We are really on the right track. He's making a full pension payment. If we make the full pension payments, yes, the pensions are absolutely secure. Here's the thing, if they don't make the pension payment and the bill comes due and the pension can't pay for it, you still owe people the pension. It would have to come out of general funds. You're just talking about destroying the state. You've got to make the pension payments. It is unheard of. No one else does this. You've got to make the pension payments.
Seems to me that you will be fighting even in retirement. Just one last question to you is, you've been talking to your members throughout the pandemic. What are they saying to you? Because honestly, this has just been so difficult on so many levels for so many people.
It's extraordinary what the workforce has done. I mean, we represent workers. CWA represents, it represents workers in hospitals, on the front lines of unemployment, motor vehicles, in telecom, all throughout the state, essential workers. I think it has been an extraordinarily hard time for them. Many of them have been at work on the ground, working under very, very difficult circumstances. Others have been able to work from home, but with children, they're managing children, they're managing loss. I know CWA's had a lot of death and a lot of sickness, and it's heartbreaking and really difficult. I can't say how proud I am of CWA members and of essential workers everywhere. It's just so extraordinary what regular working people have done through this pandemic. It is what this country is about, and it's a lot to be proud of.
Well said, Hetty. Thank you so much for chatting with me. And I certainly wish you so much luck going forward. And I look forward to seeing what you do next.
Well, my best to you. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.